The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, mixed in with bills and junk mail, looking so ordinary that Diana almost threw it away without opening it. But something made her pause. The handwriting on the envelope was familiar, achingly familiar, even though she hadn't seen it in over 15 years. Her hands trembled as she tore it open, and what she read inside made her knees buckle. She had to grab the kitchen counter to keep from collapsing. I know I have no right to write to you after all this time. I know you've probably moved on, built a life, maybe even found someone who deserves you more than I ever did. But I'm dying, Diana. The doctors gave me 6 months, maybe less. And before I go, I need you to know the truth about why I left. The truth about what really happened that summer. The truth about the son you never knew you had. Diana was 53 years old. She was a respected professor of art history at Columbia University. She had been married for 12 years to a kind, gentle man who had given her stability and companionship. And in one single moment, with one single letter, everything she thought she knew about her life came crashing down around her. But this story doesn't begin with that letter. This story begins 20 years earlier, in a small coastal town in Portugal, where a 33-year-old woman on the verge of a breakdown met a 23-year-old artist who would change her life forever. And what happened between them, the love they shared, the secrets they kept, and the sacrifice that tore them apart, is something that will stay with you long after you finish hearing it. Diana had never planned to go to Portugal. She had been a rising star in the New York art world, a curator at a prestigious gallery, engaged to a wealthy investment banker who checked every box on the list of what a successful woman was supposed to want. But 3 weeks before her wedding, she discovered that her fiancé had been sleeping with her best friend for over a year. The betrayal was so complete, so devastating, that Diana did the only thing she could think of: she ran. She bought a one-way ticket to Lisbon, rented a tiny apartment in the coastal town of Cascais, and told no one where she was going. She intended to stay for a month, just long enough to lick her wounds and figure out what to do with her shattered life. She ended up staying for a year. It was in Cascais that she met Gabriel. He was working at a small cafe near the beach, serving coffee during the day and painting at night. He was 23 years old, with dark curly hair, paint-stained fingers, and eyes that seemed to hold entire oceans. Diana noticed him the first morning she walked into the cafe, but she didn't think anything of it. He was a boy, practically a child compared to her. She was too broken and too old to entertain any romantic notions. But Gabriel had other ideas. He started sitting with her during his breaks, asking about the books she was reading, the sketches she was making in her notebook. He discovered she knew about art and began showing her his paintings, seeking her opinion with the eager vulnerability of a young artist desperate for validation. Diana found herself looking forward to their conversations, to the way his face lit up when she offered praise, to the passion with which he spoke about color and light and the way beauty could be found in the most unexpected places. "You're the first person who takes my art seriously," he told her one evening as they walked along the beach after the cafe closed. "My family thinks I'm wasting my life. They want me to get a real job, settle down, stop chasing impossible dreams." Diana stopped walking and turned to face him. "Your art isn't a waste. It's extraordinary. Anyone who can't see that isn't paying attention." Gabriel looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You really believe that?" "I've spent my entire career looking at art. I know talent when I see it." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell the salt air mixed with the faint scent of turpentine that always clung to his skin. "And what else do you see when you look at me?" Diana knew she should step back, should laugh off the question, should remind him of all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, she found herself being honest. "I see someone who makes me feel alive in a way I forgot I could feel." The kiss that followed was inevitable. It was also terrifying. Diana tried to pull away, tried to voice all the objections crowding her mind, but Gabriel silenced her with gentle words. "I don't care how old you are. I don't care that you're supposed to be too sensible for this. I only care about how I feel when I'm with you. And I feel like I've been waiting my entire life for someone who looks at the world the way you do." That night, Deanna made a choice that would define the rest of her life. She chose to stop being sensible. She chose to embrace something that made no logical sense. She chose Gabriel. The months that followed were the happiest Diana had ever known. She and Gabriel spent every possible moment together. He painted her obsessively, capturing her in dozens of canvases that showed a woman transformed by love. She used her connections in the art world to get his work shown in a small gallery in Lisbon, watching with pride as critics began to take notice of his extraordinary talent. They talked about the future, about what it would look like when they left Portugal and returned to the real world. Gabriel wanted to come to New York, to be with her, to build a life together. Diana wanted that too, wanted it so desperately that it frightened her. For the first time since her broken engagement, she allowed herself to believe in happy endings. But reality has a way of shattering dreams. It came in the form of a phone call from Gabriel's mother. His father had suffered a massive heart attack and was not expected to survive. Gabriel had to return home immediately to his family's village in the north of Portugal. "Come with me," he begged Diana. "Meet my family. Let me show them that this is real." Diana wanted to say yes. Every fiber of her being wanted to say yes. But she knew what would happen if she did. She had seen the way Gabriel's mother looked at her when they met briefly in Lisbon, the barely concealed disapproval, the fear that this older foreign woman was corrupting her son. She knew that if she went to the village, she would become the obstacle standing between Gabriel and his family during the worst moment of their lives. "Go to your father," she said, her heart breaking with every word. "Be with your family. I'll wait for you here." Gabriel left that night, promising to return as soon as he could. Diana waited. Days turned into weeks. The phone calls grew shorter, more strained. She could hear the weight of family obligation in his voice, the guilt of wanting to be with her when his mother needed him, when his younger siblings needed him. And then came the call that ended everything. "My father died this morning," Gabriel said, his voice hollow with grief. "My mother had a stroke when she heard the news. She can't walk, Diana. She can't take care of herself. My brothers and sisters are too young. There's no one else." Diana closed her eyes, already knowing what was coming. "I can't leave her. I can't come to New York. I have to stay here, at least until she recovers, until the children are older." He was crying now, the raw sobs of a man being torn in half. "I'm so sorry. I love you. I love you more than I've ever loved anything. But I can't abandon my family." "I know," Diana whispered. "I would never ask you to." There was a long silence. Then Gabriel said something that would haunt her for the next 20 years. "Wait for me. Please. I don't know how long it will take, but I'll find my way back to you. Just wait for me." Diana promised she would. And for 2 years, she kept that promise. She returned to New York, threw herself into her work, and waited for Gabriel to call and say he was finally free. But the calls grew less frequent. The letters became shorter. And eventually, they stopped altogether. Diana wrote to him, desperate for an explanation, but her letters went unanswered. She called his mother's house, but whoever answered always said Gabriel wasn't available. She thought about flying to Portugal, confronting him, demanding to know why he had abandoned her. But some small, wounded part of her already knew the answer. He had moved on. He had forgotten her. She had been nothing but a summer romance, a temporary escape from reality. At 36, Diana made a decision. She would stop waiting. She would build a life that didn't depend on a man who had broken every promise he ever made. She would survive. And she did. She threw herself into her career, becoming one of the most respected art historians in the country. At 41, she met Richard, a fellow professor who offered her companionship, stability, and a quiet kind of love that never demanded too much. They married a year later. It wasn't passionate. It wasn't consuming. But it was safe. And after Gabriel, safe was all Diana thought she could handle. Now, at 53, she stood in her kitchen holding a letter that revealed she had been wrong about everything. The letter explained everything Gabriel had never been able to tell her. His mother, bitter and controlling, had intercepted all of Diana's letters. She had answered the phone calls and lied about Gabriel not being available. She had convinced Gabriel that Diana had moved on, had married someone else, had forgotten about him. And Gabriel, drowning in grief and responsibility, had believed her. But that wasn't the worst of it. A month after I got home, the letter continued, a woman from the village came to see me. She said she had been to Cascais, had seen the paintings I did of you. She told me that you had come looking for me, that you were pregnant. Diana's blood ran cold. I didn't believe her at first. I thought it was another of my mother's tricks. But I went to Cascais myself and found the landlord of your old apartment. He told me you had come back, looking for me, clearly pregnant. He said you left when you couldn't find me. Diana remembered that trip, the desperate journey she had made when she discovered she was carrying Gabriel's child. She remembered the cold reception at his mother's house, the lies she had been told about Gabriel being engaged to a local girl, the crushing certainty that she had been nothing but a temporary amusement. I tried to find you, Gabriel's letter continued. For years, I tried. But you had disappeared completely. Your old gallery said you had resigned. None of your friends knew where you were. It was like you had vanished off the face of the earth. Because she had. Diana had fled to Europe, had the baby in a small hospital in Switzerland, and had made the most painful decision of her life. She had given her son up for adoption to a wealthy Swiss couple who could give him everything she couldn't: stability, a normal family, a life free from scandal and shame. She had never told anyone. Not her family, not her friends, not Richard. The secret had lived inside her for 20 years, a wound that never healed. His name is Lucas, Gabriel's letter concluded. I found him 5 years ago. He's 20 years old now, studying art in Paris. He has your eyes, Diana. And he wants to meet his mother. Diana read the letter 3 times before she fully absorbed its meaning. Gabriel was dying. Their son was alive and wanted to know her. And everything she had believed for 2 decades had been a lie. She told Richard that night. It was the hardest conversation of her life. She expected anger, betrayal, the end of her marriage. Instead, Richard took her hands and listened quietly as she poured out the story she had kept hidden for so long. You should go to him, Richard said when she finished. To both of them. What about us? What about our life? Richard smiled sadly. Diana, I've always known there was a part of you I couldn't reach. A room in your heart that was locked to me. Now I understand why. He squeezed her hands. Go. Find the answers you need. I'll be here when you get back. Diana flew to Lisbon the next morning. Gabriel was living in a small apartment near the hospital where he was receiving treatment. When Diana saw him for the first time in 20 years, she barely recognized him. The disease had ravaged his body, leaving him thin and frail. But his eyes were the same, still holding entire oceans, still lighting up when he saw her walk through the door. You came, he breathed. Of course I came. They talked for hours, filling in the gaps of 20 lost years. Gabriel showed her pictures of Lucas, their son, and Diana wept at the sight of a young man who had her eyes and Gabriel's artistic talent. Gabriel told her about the years he had spent caring for his mother, who had died 5 years ago, finally freeing him to search for Diana and their child. "I never stopped loving you," he said. "Not for a single day. Every painting I ever made after you left had you in it somehow." The critics called it my blue period, but really it was just me, trying to capture what I had lost. Diana held his frail hand and let 20 years of tears finally fall. Lucas arrived the next day, flying in from Paris the moment Gabriel told him Diana had come. The moment she saw her son walk through the door, Diana understood what people meant when they talked about pieces of their heart walking around outside their body. He was beautiful, a perfect blend of her and Gabriel, with an artist's sensitivity and an intensity that took her breath away. "I'm not angry," Lucas said when they finally had a moment alone. "I want you to know that. My adoptive parents were wonderful. They told me from the beginning that I was chosen, that my birth parents must have loved me very much to give me the chance at a better life. When I found out the truth about what really happened, about how you and my father were separated, I just felt sad. Sad for all the years we lost. I wanted to keep you," Diana whispered. "You have to believe that. I wanted it more than I've ever wanted anything. But I was alone, and broke, and terrified. I thought Gabriel had abandoned me. I thought I had nothing to offer you." Lucas took her hands, and Diana marveled at how much they looked like Gabriel's, long-fingered and graceful. "You gave me life," he said simply. "And now you're here. That's all that matters." The weeks that followed were bittersweet. Diana stayed in Lisbon, spending every possible moment with Gabriel and Lucas. She watched as father and son, reunited after only 5 years, continued to build the relationship they had been denied. She began to know her child, learning about his dreams of becoming a painter like his father, his struggles with identity and belonging, his gentle heart that had somehow remained intact despite the complicated circumstances of his birth. And she and Gabriel finally had the conversations they should have had 20 years ago. They talked about the life they might have lived, the family they might have raised, the art they might have created together. They mourned what was lost, but they also celebrated what they had found, each other, after all this time, and a son who was the best of both of them. Richard called every few days, never pressuring, always supportive. Diana marveled at his generosity, at his ability to understand that her love for Gabriel didn't diminish what she felt for him. They had built a life together, a good life, and that mattered too. Gabriel died on a warm September evening, with Diana holding one hand and Lucas holding the other. His last words were to both of them. "I spent 20 years in the darkness," he whispered. "But these last weeks with you have been enough light to last an eternity. Take care of each other. Create beautiful things. And remember that love, real love, never truly dies." Diana stayed in Lisbon for the funeral, a small gathering attended by a few of Gabriel's friends and the siblings he had sacrificed so much to raise. They were middle-aged now, with families of their own, and they embraced Diana with the gratitude of people who finally understood what their brother had given up. Before she left, Lucas gave her something that made her break down completely, a painting Gabriel had been working on until the very end. It was Diana as he remembered her from that summer in Cascais, young and beautiful and full of hope. But there was something else in the painting, something that hadn't existed back then. In the corner, barely visible, was the figure of a young man with Diana's eyes. Lucas. Gabriel had painted the family they should have been, the dream that had sustained him through 20 years of separation. Diana brought the painting back to New York and hung it in her study, where she could see it every day. Richard never complained, never felt threatened by the ghost of a love that had shaped his wife long before he knew her. Lucas came to visit that Christmas, the first of many visits that would eventually become so frequent that Diana and Richard converted the guest room into a permanent space for him. He transferred to an art program in New York, eager to be close to the mother he had only recently found. Diana watched him grow into a brilliant artist, his work featured in the same galleries where she had once worked, his talent finally being recognized as Gabriel's had been recognized too late. On what would have been Gabriel's 50th birthday, Diana and Lucas returned to Cascais together. They visited the cafe where Diana and Gabriel had met, walked the beach where they had shared their first kiss, and scattered Gabriel's ashes in the ocean he had painted so many times. "Do you regret it?" Lucas asked as they watched the waves carry his father's remains out to sea. "Any of it?" Diana thought about the question carefully before answering. "I regret the years we lost. I regret the lies that kept us apart. I regret that Gabriel never got to see you grow up, never got to hold his grandchildren, never got to live the life he deserved." She paused, watching the sun set over the water. "But I don't regret loving him. And I don't regret you. You're the best thing that ever came from the worst time of my life." Lucas put his arm around her, this son who had been a stranger a year ago and was now one of the most important people in her world. "He told me something before he died," Lucas said. "He said that the greatest paintings are the ones that take the longest to complete. Sometimes you start a masterpiece and life forces you to put it away for years, even decades. But if it's meant to be finished, you'll find your way back to it." Diana smiled through her tears. "That sounds like your father. He said that you were his masterpiece. That it took 20 years, but he finally got to see the finished painting before he died." They stood there until the sun disappeared completely, two people bound by love and loss and the strange, miraculous way life sometimes gives back what it takes away. 5 years later, Diana published a book about Gabriel's art, bringing his work the recognition it had always deserved. Lucas wrote the foreword, a beautiful meditation on legacy and love and the ways our parents shape us even when they're not there. The book became a bestseller, and Gabriel's paintings, once sold for almost nothing, now hung in museums around the world. Richard read every draft of the book and attended every launch event, proud of his wife and the complicated, beautiful story she had finally found the courage to tell. Their marriage, far from being destroyed by the revelation of her past, had grown stronger. Richard understood now that Diana's capacity for deep love wasn't a threat to what they shared. It was the same capacity that allowed her to love him, to build a life with him, to choose him every day. On her 60th birthday, Diana stood in a gallery in Lisbon, surrounded by Gabriel's paintings, by Richard and Lucas and the extended family they had built together. She looked at the portrait Gabriel had made of her all those years ago, the young woman full of hope and fear and desperate love, and she marveled at the journey that had brought her here. Love, she had learned, was not a single story with a beginning, middle, and end. It was a tapestry, woven from countless threads, some bright and some dark, some that began and ended abruptly and others that stretched across decades. Gabriel was a thread that had been cut short but never truly broken. Richard was a thread of steady warmth and unwavering support. Lucas was the thread that connected them all, the living proof that even the most painful chapters of our lives can lead to something beautiful. As she raised a glass to toast Gabriel's memory, Diana made a silent promise. She would keep telling his story, keep showing the world what he had created, keep honoring the love they had shared. And she would keep living, fully and completely, because that was what Gabriel had wanted for her. That was what love demanded. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the threads in your own life's tapestry, take a moment to share your thoughts. Have you ever lost something precious only to find it again in a different form? Have you ever discovered that what you thought was an ending was really a beginning? Leave a comment below and be part of this conversation. Hit that like button if you believe that love can transcend time and circumstance. And if you're not already part of this community, subscribe so you never miss a story that speaks to your heart. Because these stories, the ones that make us feel and remember and hope, these are the ones that matter most.